Nurses of Reddit. What were the most haunting things someone said on their deathbed? I had to tell my grandmother that dialysis would only give her another week or so to live, and it was her choice to try or not. She was in and out of consciousness at that point and was in a clear state for the moment. She asked, "Will I die?" I said, "Yes." She looked me in the eye and smiled just a little and said, "Sometimes you gotta do what you don't want it to do." She closed her eyes, squeezed my hand, and slept until she passed a day later. When things get hard, I always hear her say, "Sometimes you gotta do what you don't want it to do." Not a nurse, but my mom, uncle, and aunt all said that when their grandfather died, he kept telling people to kick out that bald-headed bitch out of the room. When they'd ask who, he'd say, "The one wearing the black shawl. She keeps knocking on the window." There was no one there, obviously. They think he saw the Reaper or something like that. I had a patient whose memory had been fading for years. It's weird. Right before a patient dies, sometimes they'll suddenly be doing a lot better. Anyway, he thought I was his late wife. I played along and just listened to him while he recalled his engagement, his wedding, his first childbirth, and a few other memories for me. At one point, he says, "Oh, Irene, there you are. Sorry, you know my eyes aren't as good as they used to be." Well, thank you for listening to an old man tell his stories. I hope you have great stories to tell one day too. I'm coming, Irene. And then he passed. He was my first long-time patient. About 2 minutes before my grandma passed, she had clarity she'd suffered from severe dementia for years. She opened her eyes and said, "I found Jack, my grandpa who died 8 years prior." She said they were at a ball with their friends. Then she said, "I've got to go. He asked me to dance." Then she was gone. While in hospice, my grandma said to me, there were a great many things in this world worse than dying." Then talked about how lucky she was to have lived the life she did. I had never looked at death like that before, and that conversation truly changed me and my outlook. She was the most wonderful person. Many moons ago, when I was a nursing student, a man in his 40s was lying on his deathbed from terminal cancer, his sobbing wife lying in bed next to him. He looked at his wife, using the last bit of energy he had to gently wipe away her tears and stroke her cheek. He took off his oxygen mask and said, "Don't worry, love. Don't be afraid. It's just death," and passed shortly after. Looked after a guy with end-stage heart failure. He kept having episodes where if he coughed or leaned forward anything to increase his intrathoracic pressure, he would pass out. He would come back after a few minutes and gradually go from purple back to pink. How long was I out for that time? He was fully mentally fine, sharp, witty, and at peace with what was going to eventually happen to him. Him and me were joking that one of these episodes were going to kill him, as he sipped his tea and we talked rubbish. 5 minutes later it happened again, and he didn't come back. He had a DNR order, which was sensible. Very eerie to talk to somebody so vibrant and alert minutes before he died. Such a nice dude. I want to be in that mindset when I go too. I didn't mean to. We were sending this middle-aged guy home after his visit. As soon as we moved him off the bed, he went unresponsive and had no heartbeat. We did a couple rounds of CPR, and he began to come to. He blinked a couple times, and the doctor running the code jokingly said, "Sir, you almost died on us." The man said, "I'm sorry, I didn't mean to," in a sad way. His heart then stopped again, and we couldn't get him back. I'm a nursing student in Canada, and on my palliative rotation I had a patient that was getting medically assisted dying the next day. He was an elderly cancer patient. He told me he was a self-ordained minister, nothing official but an at-home type preacher, and that I could confess to him anything I wanted. I humored him and whispered to him some of my biggest secrets. I figured who cares, he was going to die tomorrow anyway. He told me it was all right, and I could tell he appreciated that I confided in him. He also told me his email address and said that while he would not be sending emails in return, he would be receiving them. He was a cool guy.